My name is Erik Halldén. I've been working and living in Greater China for the past 8 years. I'm currently working for SEB as a sustainability advisor. So what that means is that I'm covering more or less everything that is happening in China from a sustainability point of view, everything that is happening within clean energy technologies, their massive development in clean energy technologies, and I also work with sustainable finance on behalf of our clients in Asia. So when I started in my current position around 3 years ago, clean tech was already a big topic around the world, right? But it's really from 2021 that you can really see the deployment on scale of the clean tech technologies coming out of China. And I think that in the beginning, we didn't really take the initial signal seriously from China in terms of what they were trying to achieve and how. Now, I do believe that everyone is very well aware of their massive needs. And I do believe that it's more important now maybe than ever to follow the signals coming out of China, because they have proven in the past that they are right and that they have the capacity to succeed. So I think it's crucial to really listen to what is China saying about their strategic angle, what they're trying to achieve. So right now, China is pushing clean energy technologies and the build out of renewable energy at a massive pace. To back a bit, China actually started this many years ago. Back in 2010, they announced that they would make this into important strategic industries for the future. Ever since, they have been investing massively in research and development and clean tech manufacturing. So just to take some examples, currently around 70% of all the electric vehicles in the world are produced in China. Around 90% of all solar PVs are produced in China. And when it comes to batteries, the number is around 80% as well. So they are really leading in these industries that are so crucial for the sustainable transition. So the biggest opportunities, I would say, is in these industries, not specifically maybe in solar PVs, batteries and EVs, because these spaces are quite crowded already. However, looking at where China is heading, they are many years ahead of maybe the EU when it comes to clean energy technology development. And I'm sure that you can always find various subcategories within these that you can either assist with in China. You can also bring these technologies to Europe and see what is working in China. Could this potentially work in Europe or in Sweden and so on? So I think that that's really interesting. So to avoid the crowded spaces, but to really leverage that China is running ahead here in most industries and see what can we make out of that. Hong Kong is really interesting in this this massive transition. It resides just next to China with massive inbounds into China and out of China. Being a part of Greater China, I do believe that Hong Kong is a really interesting hub for startups where you connect with China, but also the rest of the world. You can also see a lot of initiatives from the Hong Kong government in terms of making it easier for startups to establish themselves in Hong Kong with new industrial zones and subsidies that you can apply for and so on. So I do believe that this is really the stronghold if you want to be close to China's clean tech drive. So when countries and companies around the world are talking about China's green transition, I think that they missed the point in a lot of cases. Firstly, it's widely debated that China is still opening up new coal plants for energy. They are on top of that also the biggest emitter in the world, which is both very true. However, if you look at per capita emissions, China is around 50% lower than the US if you look at what's actually net produced in China and consumed in China. Comparing it to the EU with the same logic, it's on par with the EU on a per capita level. I think that that's one of the misconceptions. Another big misconception in this is that China is doing all of these investments from a sustainability point of view. Even if that is true to some extent, the massive drive comes from actually achieving energy independence and reducing reliance on other countries. China is the biggest importer of oil, of coal, and more or less of gas as well. They don't want to be that dependent on other countries. And the only way of achieving independence is by accelerating renewable energy. If a Swedish company wants to explore this region, we look at where is China really, really strong? Where can this be translated into Sweden as an example? Are there already technologies in China that we can help Sweden with? But also, importantly enough, the other way around. Sweden is also a leader in various clean tech industries and a massive invention hub. There's so much good technologies coming out from Sweden that is massively needed in China as well. So looking in both directions, I think it's possible. I think one thing to avoid is really to avoid the most crowded spaces, such as maybe solar PV manufacturing or pure battery manufacturing. It's really a hard competition. Of course, you can find sub-industries to this that is relevant, but there's always a sweet spot. So right now, Hong Kong is really booming as a financial center all over again. It's a bit of a renaissance after COVID, a bit of a different shape and forms. I think what's really being clear now in Hong Kong is all the different IPOs that are happening from Chinese companies in the AI sphere, in the clean tech sphere, etc., that is coming to Hong Kong and placing Hong Kong as the #1 IPO hub in the world. This is, of course, also coming with a lot of follow-up effects. There's a lot of competence coming into Hong Kong in these industries. And I do believe that this will just strengthen Hong Kong's role as China's global hub. So I think it's a trend that is started and will continue to go on for a long time. So I do believe that this area is really interesting for companies that want to explore the clean energy technologies and opportunities in that. I mean, going back centuries ago, we had the Industrial Revolution, where the UK was the center of the world, where it was really happening. Going back to the early stages of the tech development, you would want to be in the US and Silicon Valley. Still true to a large extent. When it comes to clean tech and the sustainable transition, China and Hong Kong is really the place to be. This is where it's happening. This is where most of the investments are happening. And there's a lot of industries where China is just so far ahead. And we have so much to learn out of that. On a final note, looking at Sweden, #2 in the world in terms of innovation. Very, very strong progress and track record. Looking at the Greater Bay Area, actually #1 region in the world when it comes to innovations. And I do believe that this is really interesting to combine. So much inventions coming out from Sweden, so much opportunities in this part of the world. And I truly do believe that bridging these two is beneficial for everyone.